Kantha Namastute. Saptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Kadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Chapter 8 today. We are in the middle third of Bhagavad Gita. Middle third is pure devotional service. Let's start. So, Akshara Brahma Yoga, attaining the supreme. So, let's pay our obeisances to our deities, Radha Govinda, for their mercy to be, for so that I can speak and we can understand. This is what we did yesterday. Glories of the knowledge about Krishna from 1 to 3. What is the importance of knowing about Krishna and what is the importance of hearing about Krishna? And what is so important about hearing? What is it about hearing that is more important? We studied all this in verse 1 to 3. Kaschin mam veti tatvataha. Then Krishna says that you want to see me, you can see me in my energies. So knowledge of Lord Krishna's energies from verse 4 to 12. Prakritim Vidhi me param. Then surrendering unto Lord Krishna, 13 to 19, Mam eva ye prapadyante. Then demigod worship and impersonalism. Some people who will not surrender. Krishna knows. Krishna knows that everybody is not ready to surrender to him. So mayeva vihitan hitan. 20 to 25th verse. Then from delusion to devotion, from 26th to 30th verse. Ichha dvesha samuthena. Today we are going to do this very nice chapter. Arjuna is going to ask 8 questions to Krishna and Krishna answers them from verse 1 to verse 4. Kim Brahma. Then Krishna talks about how important it is to plan our death. Very, very important. Krishna spends a good middle third of the chapter, wherever it is written, remembering that all these places Krishna is talking about how important it is to think about him when we are leaving our body. So remembering Krishna at the time of death from 5 to 8, what is the importance? Then remembering Krishna by Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Not everybody is trying to be pure devotees. Somebody is attached to Jnana Yoga, Hatha Yoga. Krishna gives them leverage also. So remember me by your Jnana Yoga, Hatha Yoga practice at the time of your death. 9 to 13th verse. Then remembering Krishna by pure bhakti. 14 to 16th. Then Krishna says, I'm telling you, come to me, come to me. But what is so important about the spiritual world? So he's going to give a comparison between material world versus spiritual world. And then at the end, supremacy of pure bhakti in attaining Krishna. So this is a question Arjuna asked in the beginning, 8th question. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is self? What are the fruitive activities? What is the material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. How does this Lord of sacrifice live in the body? And in which part does he live, O Madhusudana? How can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So Arjuna is listening to Krishna with rapt attention. So he grabbed these words. But where did he grab these words from? Here, from 729 and 730, last chapters. So Jara Marana Mokshaya, from 7th chapter, 29th verse, Krishna uses these words. And Arjuna is like, wait a minute, what does it mean? Jara Marana Mokshaya, Mam Ashrite Yatantite, Te Brahma Tad Vidhu Kritsam, Adhyatmam Karma Cha Akhilam. Sadhi Bhuta Adi Devam Mam, Sa Adi Yagnam Cha Ye Vidhu. Prayana Kale Api Cha Mam, Te Vidhur Yukta Chetasaha. So Krishna is saying here, Brahma, then Adhyatma, then Adi Devam, then Adi Yagnam, then Prayana Kale, Apicha Mam. Prayana Kale means when we are leaving the body, when one is leaving the body. That Kale means represents here the deity representing the time. Prayana means at the time of leaving. So when one is leaving the body, that time, what should be done? Should concentrate on Adi Yagnam, the Lord of the sacrifice. So these are the 8 questions again. What is Brahman? Krishna answers, Brahman is Jiva, the indestructible living entity. Arjuna says, Krishna, what is Adhyatma? Adhyatma means controller of the body, nature of the Jiva or self. Karma. What is karma, Krishna? Work or fruitive activities. Karma is action which leads one to have another material body. So karma is the action which has a reaction, and the reaction is another material body. Adi Bhuta, material manifestation. What is Adi Bhuta? Material nature that we see around us. Adi Deva. Adi Deva means what? Universal form which includes all demigods. Some neophyte devotees, Prabhupada writes there in explaining Adi Deva, neophyte devotees are not ready to accept Krishna in his two-handed form. So when neophyte devotees are not ready, Krishna makes accommodation for them. How? He says, okay, you can remember me in my form of universal form, in my Virat Rupa, where it includes, there's no Virat Rupa as such, but he gives a comparison. That form, the lower planetary system represents the legs, the eyes and moon, the moon and sun represents the eyes, the upper planetary system represents the head. So like that, there's a division which we will study more in 11th chapter, and it is explained even more detail in second canto Bhagavatam, 5th and 6th chapter. Adi Yagna, the enjoyer of sacrifice, Paramatma. Okay, so who enjoys Adi Yagna? Who enjoys the sacrifices? Paramatma. Where does Adi Yagna reside? In the heart of all. How to remember Krishna at the time of death? Practice remembrance throughout life. We cannot remember Krishna immediately. We need to practice remembering him. If we don't practice, it's very hard to remember at the time of death. Okay, so again, we will go through it. The Supreme Lord said, the indestructible, transcendental, living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called the self. Action pertaining to development of these material bodies is called karma or fruitive activity. So Brahman has three meanings in this chapter. Brahman means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which typically means Supreme Brahman or Param Brahman. And Brahman also means Jiva or the soul. Brahman also means material nature. So the one Sanskrit word can have more than one meaning depending on what context it is used. So in this verse, Prabhupada explains that this Brahman here refers to soul. Similarly, Brahman also has three meanings. As much as Atma, word Atma has seven meanings. It's not just one, which I will tell. So Supreme Lord said again, indestructible. So soul cannot be destroyed. We studied in second chapter. Nayanam chiddanti shastrani, nayanam dahati pavaka, na chayanam kledyanti apo na shoshyati maruta. Nayanam chiddanti shastrani cannot be cut by weapons. Na dahati pavaka cannot be burned by fire, cannot be moistened by water, cannot be withered by wind. So it is basically indestructible. Material things cannot destroy the soul, cannot even touch, forget about destroying. Transcendental. Transcendental means something which is beyond three modes of material nature. We will study three modes of material nature in great detail in chapter 14 and 17. And it will again come in 18. So three modes are goodness, passion, ignorance. So the soul constitutionally is independent of three modes of material nature and is called Brahman. The soul is has activity. What is the activity or what is the eternal nature of the soul is called self. Actions pertaining to development of the material body. So the soul has a sense to desire because there is some independence given by Krishna. So when the soul desires to enjoy independent of Krishna, then it comes to the material world and gets a material body. And then we do actions with our material body. And then we get a reaction that is called karma. Simple. Okay, this is what it is going on, life after life. So go change body. And when the body is no more, today I'm going to show the video from third canto, 31st chapter. Very nice video done by Bhakti Vedanta Research Center in UK. So please stay back, don't leave immediately at the end of the class. It leads to the development of another body. So it goes on. It doesn't go beyond. Or forget about just being a human body. If I have a mentality like a dog, I will become dog in the next life. So there are 8,400,000 species. Or karma is this. This is karma. You know, if I am, whatever activity I'm doing is deciding my future body. If I'm attached to eating anything or everything, or drinking anything or everything, the hog body is waiting. If I'm attached to doing abominable activities, then the dog body is waiting. If I am attached to giving charity, karma kand, remember I gave the story of King Nriga? Then the heavenly planets are waiting, the demigod body is waiting. But if I become a pure devotee of Krishna, then Goloka Vrindavan is waiting. So, what is material nature? Adibhuta. Physical nature is said to be endlessly mutable. The universe is the cosmic form of the Supreme Lord, and I am that Lord represented as a super soul, dwelling in the heart of every embodied being. So, Adi Yagna is explained. Adi Deva is the universe is the cosmic form of Supreme Lord, and Adi Yagna is this. So physical nature is Adi Bhuta, which is endlessly mutable. It's changing, continuously changing. The weather is changing, the time is changing. If right now it is somewhere in the world daytime, somewhere in the world it is nighttime, somewhere in the world it is evening, somewhere in the world the sun is rising. So it's different because it's changing. Constant change is happening. Okay, which child is going to chant this? Now Krishna is going to talk about, start talking about remembering him at the time of death. Yes, please raise your hand if some child wants to chant this verse. Nobody is raising hand? No children today? Kirti Reddy, Vidya. Okay. This is very interesting. No children today? Let me see. Okay, maybe they have school. So, Antakale chamam eva smarana mukta kalevaram. Ya prayati samad bhavam yati nashti atra samshayaha. Vibha, you keep your hand raised. I will tell you for the next one. Or Kalavati Mataji will tell. And whoever at the time of death quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So this verse is very nice. This verse we can talk about for 1 week, every word, what is anta means, what is kale means, chamam, eva, what is eva mean. So, but we are in 18-day, whole chapter needs to be covered today only. So I will give a taste. You know, when have you ever experienced when someone goes to buy, let's say, cake from a bakery, and they don't know which one to buy, so the baker will say, okay, I'll give you a little sample to taste. So I will give you a little taste of the shloka. Anta kale means at the time or at the last moment. Chamam eva, certainly who remembers me. Smarana mukta kalevaram. Eva, certainly you remember. Smarana means memory or remembering. Mukta, liberation. Kalevaram, certainly gets it. Ya prayati samad bhavam. He attains my nature. Mad bhavam, my nature. Yati nashti atra sanshayaha. Of this there is no doubt. Atra means iota, a little bit. Sanshaya means doubt. And the word before is adjective is nashti. No, there is no doubt. So Krishna, actually, I was analyzing this chapter yesterday. Krishna speaks like this, no doubt, comes to me in verse 5, verse 7, verse 8, verse 13, verse 14. 8 chapter Bhagavad Gita, Krishna uses this, of this there is no doubt, come to me, one at once attains my nature, in all these 5 verses. I was thinking then maybe it's so important. Not maybe, it is important. So it is very important that we have to train ourselves for the last exam. We cannot say, you know, today's world, if I want to talk about that with someone, generally the response is don't talk about inauspicious things. It's inauspicious. It's not happening today. Why are you worrying about it today? But Krishna writes a whole chapter. The whole chapter is given about this. So it's very important that we actually contemplate on it. That what am I going to think about at the end moment of my life when I'm leaving the body? I must have information. Where am I going to go next? Why is someone afraid of death? Where is the fear lying? This question has to be answered. Prabhupada explains why someone is afraid of death, because they do not know where they're going to go. You know, if someone has to go somewhere and there is no direction, if someone is brought to Kalapani, middle of nowhere, then that is anxiety provoking situation. But we need to have information, where am I going to go next? If I'm going to go to a better place, there should be no worry. But that's a realized knowledge. So antakale chamam eva certainly comes to me. And another thing in this verse is at once. We don't have to go through 12 years of schooling, 3 years of bachelor's degree, then depending on masters, 3 to 4 years masters, maybe 5. And then if someone wants to do postdoc or PhD, then do that. And then if someone wants to do more higher studies, double degrees, then go for that fellowship. And then take your resume, take one's own resume, and then go beg for job. There's so many years wasted. But here Krishna says at once. It's not that we have to wait for so long, at once, but we have to practice. If I'm practicing in my duration of life how to remember Krishna at the time of my death, then when I leave this body, at once I will go to Krishna. Okay, so this is Mahabharata. This is Yudhishthira Maharaj when his brothers drank the poisonous water from the lake, and they were going to die. And Yaksha came to get their souls. Yudhishthira Maharaj prayed to him not to take his brothers. So Yaksha asked him 3 questions. He said, if you answer these 3 questions, then I will give your brothers back. And one of the questions was, what is the most wonderful thing around you? What is the most wonderful thing? So Yudhishthira Maharaj answers this. Is Vibha? You can chant this.
Ahanai ahani bhutani gacchantiha yamalayam sesa stavaram icchanti kim ascharyam ataha param.
Very nice. Thank you so much. So, Ani Ani Bhutani Gacchantaya Yamalayam. Ani Bhutani means hundreds and thousands of living entities are entering into Yamaraj's house. Gachanti. We are going where? Yamalayam. Alayam means house, right? Going to Yamaraj's house. But a foolish living being nonetheless thinks himself deathless and does not prepare for death. This is the most wonderful thing in this world. So, such a virtuous devotee, such a pious personality is saying this, that there is a need to prepare for death. We have to talk about it. If we don't talk about it, we cannot just get away with it. You know the story that there was once a rat, and the rat was very scared of a cat, and he thought, he devised a plan that when the cat will come in front of him, then what he's going to do, he's going to cover his eyes, because he can't see the cat. So cat, how can cat see him? He covered his eyes. Then what happened? Then what happens if this is his plan to avoid seeing the cat? Then he's actually inviting his death, because the cat will definitely see him more nicely and come and fetch him. Like that, we cannot like just forego that. Okay, everything is fine. I am fine. You are fine. No, no, no. Nothing is fine until we know where we are going to go next. Yes, with child is chanting this verse. There is no fun without children, right? In the class, no children today. Okay, so yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam evati kanteya sada tad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So Krishna said in the previous verse, at once. Here he's saying will attain without fail. What will he attain? Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body. Whenever I read this shloka, whenever I read, there are this comes to my mind that there's so many obituaries that when we read someone's obituary, someone died, they write that such and such person has left for their heavenly abode. But that's wrong, because they may not have left for heavenly abode. They left what they were thinking at the time of their death. So this shloka was written. When we write an obituary, when someone writes an obituary, this shloka can be quoted. They left for yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam eveti kantaya sada tad bhava bhavita. This is Krishna's word. We are not talking from sentimental things. So If at the time of death, this is Bharat Maharaj, he was thinking about a deer. So at once he became a deer. But he remembered in the deer body that I was thinking about um, the deer, because he was on a Bhava Bhakti platform. This is his life. So Prabhupada says we should be very careful in understanding the life of a pure devotee. Try not to commit offense, because if we commit offense from our mundane understanding, then our devotional progress is hampered. So this is an example given to us. These devotees, their life is an example. Vyasadev is not going to write about something mundane. There is something waiting there for us to learn. So Bharat Maharaj was on the Bhava Bhakti stage. There are 9 stages of bhakti. Yes, which co-host of mine will tell me what are the 9 stages of bhakti?
Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivratti, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema Bhakti.
Very nice. Thank you, Mataji. So bhakti starts with, first is Shraddha. Have some faith. Okay, let me go check these people out. That's a maybe weak faith, but there is some faith. That is called Shraddha. The Shraddha, then what happens? Sadhu Sangha. They come and associate with the devotees. Then, if someone is associating with devotees, what is going to happen? They're not going to talk about what movie has been released or what actor is wearing what clothes. No. They're going to talk about bhajan kriya. Their activity is going to be centered around Krishna. So Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya. When one does Bhajan Kriya, when one reads Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, then what happens? Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu. So what happens? Then one becomes clean. Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivritti. Anartha, the unwanted things in the heart. The 6 enemies which are sitting in the heart: envy, lust, anger, greed. All these things, Nivritti, one gets free. One gets free from it. So Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivritti. And then what happens? Then one develops. Mataji, what is the next step? Is it Asakti? Nishtha.
Nishta.
Shraddha becomes Nishtha. The Shraddha that was weak in the beginning now becomes the firm determination. Nishtha. Yes, I want to do this. And when Nishtha develops, then attachment develops to Krishna. Asakti. And from
Ruchi will. After Nishta, Ruchi will come, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. So then Nishtha leads to Ruchi or taste. So when we chant Hare Krishna, and when sometimes if there is offenseless chanting, then the taste comes on the tongue. You can taste the Harinam. It's a living name. You can taste the Harinam on the tongue. So that means Ruchi. Some Krishna is giving some taste. And then from taste develops attachment, asakti. And then bhava, and then prema. So Bharat Maharaj was on the Bhava Bhakti platform, not ordinary. He had left all his kingdom, his family, his opulences, his children, because he wanted to completely become merged in Krishna consciousness. It's not artificial. It's not the sannyas that someone takes in today's world saying, I am frustrated with my family. I'm going to go to jungle and take sannyas. No, not like that. He was very happily situated in his family life, but he wanted to taste a higher thing. So he came to the jungle, but somehow he got attached to a baby deer, a doe. So even if he was performing his sacrificial rites or sacrificial duties, he still somehow became attached. And then at the end, when one day the deer went to the forest and never came back, Bharat Maharaj went looking for him, and in the process, in the grieving process, he gave up his life. Because he was thinking about the deer at the end of his life, he became a deer. But in the deer body also, he remembered that I became a deer because of this offense. And from the deer body, he started associating with devotees. He was around surrounded by devotees. He was eating dry leaves and living with devotees wherever the temple was, wherever the Hare Krishna Mahamantra was going on. So when he left the deer body, he became Jada Bharata. He was completely transcendently sound, but he appeared like a madman. Jada means madman. Jada Bharata. And then when he left that body, then he went back to Krishna. Okay. Yes, who's chanting this? Ibba, are you the only child today? Okay, you can unmute yourself.
Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu Mam anusmarayudhyaka mai arpita mano buddhir mam evaisyasai asam saya.
Very nice. Thank you. So, Vidya, this is cha. Cha means and in Sanskrit. Yudhya cha, and fight. Very nice. Thank you so much. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. Therefore, Arjuna. Now, this is again another solid point in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna, you should word is a command. It's an order. Should, must, have to. These words in communication is an order. There is no other choice. You should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duties of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without a doubt. See again, seventh verse, you will attain me without a doubt. So Krishna is telling him that think of me in the form of Krishna, not in the form of energy, not in the form of candle, not in the form of Brahmajyoti. Think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. Now imagine Arjuna is going to fight, so he has to focus, right? So many people he has to fight. He really needs to focus on the fight. He can't be like, his attention cannot be like here and there and everywhere, because that would mean his death. But Krishna is saying, think of me also. So if Krishna is saying it, it is possible. It is possible that we can do it. And he's saying, do both the things at the same time. At the same time, think of me and carry out your prescribed duty. He's not saying, think of me in the morning, 5 o'clock, and rest of the day, carry out your prescribed duty. And in the evening, again, think of me. No, he's saying, always think of me. So 24/7, even in the sleep, think of me, think of me, think of me. Dedicate your activities to me, mind and intelligence fixed on me. You will attain me without a doubt. This is Prahlad Maharaj. He was teaching his schoolmates, classmates how to think of Krishna all the time. Whenever they would have break in the class, he would immediately start talking about Krishna to his friends. His friends will say, no, no, we are so young. We should play. We are little boys. And Prahlad Maharaj says, no. You know what definition of old age is according to 7th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj? Jara, old age, right? You know what the definition of old age is? Does anyone know, according to 7th Canto, what Prahlad Maharaj defines old age as? Anybody? Anyone? You can raise your hand if you know what is the definition of old age according to Prahlad Maharaj in 7th Canto. Yes, Vibha, you know? So definition of old age according to Prahlad Maharaj is any time before death. Anytime. He does not specify 60-year-old, 90-year-old. Any time before death is old age. So we say that also. 5 years old. 3 days old. So okay. Okay. So abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasaha Nanya pramam purusham divyam yati partha anuchintayan. So this is another verse, number 8. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha Arjuna, is sure to reach me. Again he's saying, Partha anuchintayan. Anuchintayan means for sure. So for sure, if the mind is constantly engaged in remembering Krishna. Now, remembering Krishna is not, actually remembering Krishna is hard with the mind alone. It's very hard. I cannot just grab my mind and think of Krishna always, because mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. We learned these characteristics of mind in 6th chapter. So how do we do this? Krishna is saying do it, but what is the strategy to adopt to be able to do this? Undeviated from the path. Not even for a second we should get deviated. We do it, Prabhupada explains, and that is why next chapter is called as most confidential knowledge, because this strategy will be explained. We do it by engaging our senses in devotional service. It is easier to do something tangible than to just sit and think. Okay. So do something for Krishna. Do it. Speak about Krishna. Hear about Krishna. Starts with hearing, and actually it starts with tongue. Sevan mukhehi jivadu. Swayam eva sfurate adha. So jiva, the tongue, Krishna consciousness begins with tongue. How? Very revolutionary statement. Srila Prabhupada says that how is it possible that Krishna consciousness or journey back home to Krishna begins with tongue? Yes, yes. How? Because tongue has two functions. What is it? Vibrate and taste. So when the tongue vibrates and produces noise or voice, talk about Krishna. Taste Krishna prasadam. Then it will go to the heart, and then the body will become purified. And then when the brain or mind or body becomes purified, then we can hear about Krishna. It's very hard to hear about Krishna if you tell someone that go read Bhagavad Gita 1 hour a day. Just 1 hour a day, read every day. Or we can analyze our own lives. This is application of the knowledge. Analyze our own life. How much am I inclined to chant Hare Krishna or read Krishna about Krishna every single day of my life? We will get an answer. If there is no taste, then again the mind is not thinking of Krishna every time. This is Ajamila. Ajamila, I think the next verse, yes, this is a Jamila story. This is the Jamila. I will come back to this Vaikuntha Viman. This is what happens to a pure devotee. Bhagavatam explains. When a pure devotee leaves the body, then Narayan or Krishna sends an airplane with his associates to welcome him back. And see, they are blowing conch shell, offering him lotus flower. Welcome back, welcome home. So this is Jamila. In 6th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, the story comes. Jamila was born in a very pious Brahmana family. Jamila was very versed in chanting Vedic scriptures. He was very virtuous. He had a very chaste wife. But one day, when he went to the forest to collect 4 different types of grasses for the worship, on his return home, he saw this, a prostitute being hugged by a mlecha. So he saw it, but he tried to control his mind by remembering all the sacrificial things that he did in his life. He tried to chant the mantras. He tried to move from this place, but he couldn't. The mind is so strong. He couldn't. Then what happened? One day, he actually brought this prostitute home and actually asked his chaste wife and his old parents to leave the house. He threw them out and he started living with the prostitute. And with the prostitute, he had 10 children. And he was eating the food cooked by her, who's not clean herself. It's not just about the prostitute, but anywhere we're eating where there is no Krishna consciousness and the food is unclean, we actually adopt their consciousness. So he started doing abominable activities. He started doing gambling, cheating, robbing, or murdering. Why? Because he had to keep up with the demands of the prostitute. And he had 10 children with her. And the last child was, when he was 88 years old, he had a 2-year-old son. So he forgot his Krishna consciousness. He forgot. He gave up. But somehow Krishna in the heart gave him the intelligence, and he named the last son as Narayan. He saw that it's not that okay, he wants to consciously remember Narayan. He just named it Narayan. So what happened one day? The Jamila was very attached to the last child, 2-year-old, his own son. Why? Because we see that Prabhupada explains the word sneha in that word, in that verse in 6th canto. Sneha. Sneha means which comes down. Like if I put oil at the top of a vessel, a utensil, it will glide down. So that's sneha. Sneha means which comes down. So affection goes down. Srila Prabhupada explains, our affection goes to the youngest one first, down. Like that, old people are very attached to small children. Very, very. Why? Because they're so innocent. They have seen enough in their life. Now they are looking for innocence. So they see that innocent. The child, his talks, his walks, his babbling, his smile, his activities, everything is so enchanting. So Ajamila was enchanted by the activities of the small child. And when he was lying on his bed, and it was a time for him to leave the body. So Yamadutas came to snatch the soul out, to claim the soul. Yamadutas came. But he was very scared when he looked at the Yamadutas. Because he was attached to his youngest son, he called out his name, Narayana. He was not calling for Krishna. No, he called out for his son because that's whom he was most attached to, Narayana. But he chanted the 4 syllables, Narayana. Immediately Vishnudutas came for his rescue. The holy name of Krishna is so powerful. And then there was a talk between Vishnudutas and Yamadutas as to where does Jamila go. So at the end, the verdict was that the soul was put back in the body of Ajamila. Because he was still not purified, he still cannot go to Vaikuntha, but he cannot go to Yamlok anymore because he chanted Narayana in the most vulnerable time of his life. So he was given a second chance. The second chance was soul is put back in the body, then he gets up and then he can remember by Krishna's mercy that, oh, what was I doing all through my life? And then he gets very serious about spiritual journey and he goes to Haridwar and dedicates himself again to Krishna consciousness. And then when he leaves the body, this is Mother Ganges on the bank. Then when he leaves the body, then the Narayanas, the Vishnudutas come in the Vaikuntha Viman and get him back. So this is the benefit of remembering Krishna. And Krishna says, think of me as Krishna. But which Krishna? This Krishna was explained in verse 9. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental is beyond this material nature. So meditate. If someone is very attached in meditation, so many people get up early in the morning and meditate, then what do they meditate on, or what should they meditate on? This. They should memorize this 9th verse of 8th chapter. Supreme person who knows everything, oldest, controller, smaller than the smallest, maintainer of everything, beyond material conception, inconceivable, always a person. God is a person. Isn't it great? Like God is a person and I can have a relationship with God. I think it's great. It's great because generally we are pushed back from understanding God. Why? Because it's impersonal. Because God is energy. So someone feels pushed back that, oh, this is so hard. I'm not going to go and associate with energy. Can we have any relationship with candle? A flame of a candle, light, energy? No. We can have relationship with a person. So God is a person. And all the great devotees take pleasure in thinking of Krishna. Lord Brahma is thinking of Krishna. Whenever there is a problem in any planetary system, Lord Brahma goes on the bank of causal ocean along with other prominent demigods, Lord Shiva, Lord Indra. He sits and then he meditates on Mahavishnu. Lord Shiva is always on meditation. He's so absorbed. He tastes something transcendental. He's meditating on Sankarshan form of Krishna. Okay, who is chanting this? Yes, Vibha, you can chant Hare Krishna.
Mam upetya punarjanma dukkhalayam asasvatam napnuvanti mahatmanna samsiddhim paramam gataha.
Thank you. So after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. So Krishna is using this word alayam again. Okay, why don't we do this exercise for 2 minutes? Can you tell me some of the things which end with alayam? Yes, raise your hand if you want to tell me something which ends with alayam. Alayam means place, right? Or co-host?
Bhojanalaya, Devalaya.
Bhojanalayam is place of eating. Devalayam is temple. Yes, Sanjana Mataji. Yes. Mataji, mute yourself, or you can write to me also in the chat. Lakshmi Srinivas Mataji.
Granthalayam, Vidyalayam.
Mataji, what is Granthalayam?
Granthalayam is library.
Library.
Oh, library. Oh, Granthalayam. Okay.
Yeah.
Anvya Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anvya Mataji, Hi, Krishna Lakshmi Mataji. Be ready to unmute yourself, Dr. Prakash Parekh. Yes, Anya Mataji.
Himalaya.
Himalayam. Okay, where the Himalayas are standing. Okay. Yes, Dr. Prakash Parekh.
Yeah, I was going to say Himalaya.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Sai. Yes, Savadalayam.
Vidyalayam.
Okay, thank you. Radha Murli. Oh, the name, it went down. Okay, thank you so much. And then I am reading in the chat also. Anantalayam, Karunalayam, Vishwalayam. Ayo, so many. So chali. The office, I guess. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, Sanjanata ji.
Mantralaya.
Oh, yes, Mantralayam is where the mantras are chanted, the sacrifices are performed. What is Mantralayam? Okay.
It is a holy place in South India.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So now Krishna is the architect, right? Krishna made the blueprint of the this material world. Brahma is secondary created. Brahma is civil engineer. Krishna is architect. So now Krishna is architect. So architect knows the intricate details of a building. So Krishna is calling this place as Dukhalayam. Dukhalayam, and then he adds on Ashashvatam. Ashashvatam means temporary. Dukhalayam means a place full of miseries. So Srila Prabhupada explains this, that this place is full of miseries. It's full of miseries. We will study more and more and more miserable things in this life. Not that because I want to make every one of you negative about the life, but it's a reality. So miseries, there are birth, death, old age, disease. There is Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, Adhyatmik. All these kind of miseries are there. So Prabhupada says, okay, somebody says, yeah, it is full of miseries, but not for me, because I'm so rich, I'm so educated, I'm so beautiful, I have such a good family, I have such a good house. So maybe I can make my life more palatable, more nice, more relishable, enjoyable. I can go on vacation. I can make my life completely protected from the onslaughts of every misery out there. Even from the nuclear bomb, I will dig under the earth and make a basement. I will hide there. I will be saved. Or I will buy an Apple TV with so much control, so many channels. But Prabhupada, then Krishna says, then okay, you can do all that. Then what? Okay, you overcome this misery. Then temporary. Oh, it's temporary. Even if I can get rid of all these dukkhas, still it is temporary. Either I will die or this place, this machine will break. Something will happen. So place is designed like that. We cannot argue. Krishna says, Dukhalayam ashashvatam. But what is the benefit after attaining me, the great souls? Or I said, now meditate on person, Krishna. Who attains Krishna in that way, the great souls who are yogis in devotion, never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. So now we're going to learn about Krishna's world. He says, okay, we can do some sacrifices, we can do some charity, we can do some karma thing, and I can go to Brahmaloka. From the highest planet in the material world down to lowest, all are places of miseries wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. I can go to heaven, but heaven also, there are so many wars. We read in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is always a war going on between demons and demigods, and there are always anxiety. On earth, we know there is war. Hell is painful, very, very pain. There is no enjoyment there. So everywhere, repeated birth, repeated death, repeated birth, repeated death. Krishna wants us to go over it, and I will show the Goloka chart today. So by human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day. Such also is the duration of his night. So this verse 17 to 19 analyze that Krishna's one day is equal to one kalpa. And one kalpa is 1,000 cycles of Satyayug, Tretayug, Dwapar and Kali Yuga. So 1,000 cycles of this is one kalpa, which is equal to Brahma's one day. Such is equal to Brahma's one night. And Krishna lives Brahma lives such 100 years. Very long duration of life, 311 trillion years, according to our calculation. But looks like infinite time, in front of 40 years, 50 years, 60 years of one's own duration of life, or at most 100 years. This looks like a long time, but at the end of the long time also there is death. There is that Brahma dies. So when Brahma's days is manifest, this multitude of living entities come into being, and at the arrival of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. So even if I go up, go down, Brahma, Bhuvanar Loka, Punar Avartina Arjuna, we have to come back. So better to go to Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is a place where Lord is in his 400 forms. Goloka Vrindavan is a place where Krishna is in his 200 forms. So all the pure devotees are resident of Vaikuntha. The apple of everyone's eye is Krishna. Everyone has a life there. It's not that it is impersonal, there is danger. No, but the protector is Krishna. The object of worship is Krishna. The love which has to repose over the person to whom we have to repose our love is Krishna. So this is what Krishna is saying here. Yet there is another nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So we invest so much in our life insurance policies. We should invest some some policy to go to Krishna. This is the Goloka chart. This is very intricate. These are on the sides. You see the written things. They are all references through which the Goloka chart is made. So let me see if I can maximize it. I will try to explain a little bit. We are here. This is Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu, when he breathes, unlimited universes come out of his breathing. Like when we breathe, some germs or carbon dioxide comes out. When Mahavishnu breathes, universes come out. So this is one such universe. So in universe, Mahavishnu then expands himself into Garbhadaksha Vishnu. And from Garbhadaksha Vishnu, this lotus stem comes out. Let me see if I can go more. Maybe this lotus stem comes out. And on the stem, there are planted planets. This is one universe. There are so many like this. See, everywhere Garbhadaksha Vishnu is there. So on the top of the lotus flower, Brahma takes birth. And then Brahma is given knowledge in the heart to create. So these are all planets. We are Bhurlok, right? Then they are Bhuvarlok, Swarlok, Mahalok, Janalok, Tapalok, Satyalok. And then below, Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, Patal, lower planetary systems. So we are in Bhurlok right now. But if someone wants to go to Goloka Vrindavan, so then we have to cross over these layers made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, false ego, Mahatattva, ether, and then go across, and then also go across this is Brahmajyoti. So enter into the spiritual world. And spiritual world also, this is Brahmajyoti. You see this Brahmajyoti written here? Brahmajyoti is nothing but the light which is coming from the planets or Krishna's body. This is Goloka Vrindavan. But below Goloka Vrindavan is Vaikuntha. Brahmajyoti, then this is Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha, Krishna is present in his 400 form. And someone can go beyond Vaikuntha and enter into Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna is in 200 form. All information is there. We are not talking about mental speculation or philosophizing or trying to be better scholars than anyone else. I'm quoting you the facts. This is the bird's eye view. Sorry, of where we are and where Vaikuntha is and where Goloka Vrindavan is. And I want to bring for your attention to one thing. You see this white line? This is Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. See, this is ending in Goloka Vrindavan. Actually, it starts from Goloka Vrindavan. So this is very difficult to do all this, cross over this, cross over that. We can't even go to Brahmalok. Forget about going to this lok. So many rules and regulations. But if one catches the string of this mantra, Golokera Premadhana, Harinam Sankirtana. So the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is coming from Goloka Vrindavan. So when one catches this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, just by catching this vibration, one ends up in Goloka Vrindavan. It's very powerful. Sound is very powerful. Sound we underestimate. We are actually doing everything in our life based on the sound. What am I hearing? My consciousness is formed depending on what I hear. Why my mind is accumulating things, experiences, things, and so many external, exoteric, material things are presented to me, and my mind processes it, and the mind that makes a sound and talks. The mind talks to us that do this, do that, go there, go here. So that sound vibration has to change. We have to put Krishna there, and the mind will give instructions. Then that mind is a friend. Okay, so this is where it is. And this is the activity in Goloka Vrindavan. Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna is very busy, very busy playing and enjoying with his friends. They want to serve Krishna. Everybody is centered around Krishna. Everybody. And they don't look distressed. They look happy. Everyone. Mother Yashoda is running behind Krishna with a stick. Krishna, you broke the pot of yogurt that I was churning into butter. And I wanted to give you the butter, Krishna, so that you can grow fatty. You broke it. Now you have to bear this punishment from me. That's Kartik. So how do we do that? How do we do that? This is a very famous king, Kulashekara. His Mukundamala Stotra. He wrote prayers to Krishna. One such prayer is Prabhupada quotes it many, many times. Krishna, Tvadiya Pada Pankaja Panjarantam Adveya me visatau manasa raja hansa prana prayana samaye kapa vata pittehe kantha varodhana vidhau smaranam kudaste. Oh Krishna, please allow my mind to immediately yield to your lotus flower like feet, just as flamingo enters into the labyrinth of the lotus flower stem. When at the moment of my last breath, my throat becomes constricted by the action of bodily humor, air, bile, and phlegm, how will I be able to remember you? So he's praying, let me die now when I'm healthy, because if I allow my natural death to come, then my throat will be constricted by all these things. At the time of death, our senses are going haywire. Like right now, this eye knows that I have a duty of looking. Hand knows I have a duty of capturing. The vocal cords know I have a duty of vibration and producing sound. But at the time of death, everything is confused. We cannot understand what needs to be done. So how can we think of Krishna when we don't even know what we have to do? So this is almost done. Vedeshu, Yagneshu, Tapasu Chaiva, Dareshu Yet Punya Phalam Pradishtam, Atyeti Tat Sarvamidam Viditva, Yogi Param, Sthanam Upeti Cha Adyam. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing austere sacrifices, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. At the end, he reaches the supreme abode. So Krishna actually in the middle of the chapter talks about attaining Krishna by Hatha Yoga. So Shad Chakra Yoga, like 6 chakras, and how a yogi can meditate and bring the life air in between the eyebrows, and at the time of death can think of Krishna and leave the body from there. So Krishna talks a little bit about Shad Chakra Yoga. Then he talks a little bit about meditation. Like I said, like meditation, Supreme Person, or Jnana Yoga, or Ashtanga Yoga, or Dhyana Yoga. So, and then Arjuna is finding it difficult. He finds Shad Chakra difficult. He finds meditation also difficult. He's a fighter. So he says, okay, then you do devotional service. But Arjuna may think that, okay, if I do devotional service, but what about studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices? If I just worship Krishna, 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 then what about other things? So Krishna, even before letting Arjuna ask the question, understands the mindset of Arjuna and tells this. Don't worry, a person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing austere sacrifices, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. And at the end, he reaches the supreme abode. So he says, don't worry, you don't have to, because Vedeshcha Sarve Ahameva Vedya. The goal of studying the Vedas is to find Krishna. So devotional service begins where the Vedas end. The goal is to find Krishna. Devotional service is, okay, now engage in serving Krishna, which I will say, which I will explain later chapters, Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan. So this is what we did today. Please stay back because I have a very powerful video to show today. So 8 questions which Arjuna asked. What is Brahman? What is Adhyatma? What is Adi Yagna? What is Adi Bhuta? What is material nature? Where does the Adi Yagna live? These questions he asked. And Krishna answers. And then Krishna emphasizes that how can we achieve him? How can we achieve him? But very important to think of Krishna at the time of death. But we cannot just think of Krishna. I cannot say whole life I will go on doing sinful activities, and when I'm dying I'll just think of Krishna and go to him. It's not going to happen. It's not, someone wants to take a risk and play around with their own life, good luck, but it's not going to happen. So we need to do abhyasena yogena. And Krishna says, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, always think of me and do your prescribed duty, both the things at the same time. He's telling Arjuna, fight and think of me. How? Because we need to know that he's going to fight for Krishna. So work for Krishna. That is devotional service. But somebody wants to remember Krishna by Yoga Mishra Bhakti, Om Iti Eksharam Brahma. Then they chant the verse Om and meditate on the impersonal concept of Krishna. Remembering Krishna by pure Bhakti, 14 to 16. He says, Dukkhalyam Ashashvatam. So one who thinks of Krishna in pure Bhakti by working for Krishna, then they go back to Krishna and never come back to this Dukkhalyam Ashashvatam again. And he says, okay, you want to come to me? My world looks like this. Material world versus spiritual world. Paras tasmatu bhav anya, another nature. That nature does not annihilate when this nature annihilates. So supremacy of pure bhakti in attaining Krishna. Krishna likes pure devotional service. He says, okay, like last verse that I just said, 28 verse, that who is performing devotional service, pure devotional service, is not bereft of the benefits which are achieved by studying the Vedas, performing charities, performing sacrifices, performing austerities. Atyati tat sarvamidam viditva. Okay, so very important to think of Krishna and work. So we can think of Krishna by working for Krishna. And we can dovetail all our activities of daily living for Krishna. Okay, so let's see this video, remembering Krishna at the time of death. This is from 3rd Canto Srimad Bhagavatam at 31st chapter, the movements of the living entities. Okay.
Then the body is finished and the soul again enters another body. This is called transmigration. What is the next body you are going to get? You must have information.
Okay, so this is from United Kingdom, Bhaktivedanta Research Center. It's a very powerful video, right? I think we overcrossed the time today. So should I make the breakout rooms or should I just, maybe for 5 minutes, let's make the breakout rooms for 5 minutes. So Kalavati Mataji, Kartik Prabhu and Sita Mataji. I thought Roshan was here. Okay, and Roshan. So I'm making 4 rooms for 5 minutes. I'm going to bring everyone back. So I think in 5 minutes, you can take 1 question only. Okay, so whoever is staying behind, if you have any questions.
Sita Mataji, you are here.
Kartik Prabhu is also here.
All of us.
Okay,
Okay.
Are you staying, Mataji?
Okay, I'll stay because today.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, I have a doubt.
Yeah, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I wanted to know that the 7, I mean, we crossed the 7 different worlds, right? To reach the where we have no rebirth, is that Vaikunta Golokam or is it a plain Golokam?
Actually, what Prabhupada has told, like it's fine whether you go to Vaikunta or Goloka, because Vaikunta, Prabhupada said like it is a level, another level, like, but above that it is Goloka. But as long as, if both of the things are above this material world. So whether
Yeah,
you
so then,
Oh.
no. So then once you finish, I mean, once you have finished down with your counting of your pavam and your punyam, that count.
Yes.
So from which you again come back from there to this
No.
earth once again.
Once you cross that material, the desire ocean is there, right? River is there.
Yeah.
Mataji showed.
Yeah.
Once you
Yeah.
cross that river, you won't come back. That is a
So
separate
that is
world.
irrespective of you being in either in Golokam or in Vaikuntham.
Yes, that doesn't matter.
Right?
It's fine as long as you are in Vaikundam or Goloka, because some people are attached to Vishnu form. That's fine. You can keep attached to Vishnu form. That's fine. Or if you want to have a very personal thing, then you can go to the Goloka, where he is in Krishna form actually. The breakout room is ending actually. It's very soon. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Where does our thoughts come from?
Yes. So what do you think? That's a logical question. Very nice. Where does that thought come from? What do you think?
No idea, Mother. I think it's from our mind. But again, another question is, which makes our mind? So
Okay,
it's been cyclic for me.
So our thoughts come from our experiences. It's mostly our experiences that give us our thought. If, for example, if there was an experiment, right? I remember reading this in college. So the Pavlov's experiment. I don't know if you have heard of it. This Russian scientist, he did this experiment, Pavlov's experiment, that there was a dog, and he tied the dog to a rein, and then to a leash, and he would ring a bell. And whenever he would ring a bell, at the same time, he would give food to the dog. So a couple of days he did that, ring a bell and food to the dog. So he was measuring, is the dog associating with the ringing of the bell with the food, and is his bodily symptoms changing? Is he salivating more? Is he looking for food here and there more because of the ringing of the bell? So he's associating. He was doing external experiment. So after a couple of days, he rang the bell, but he did not give the food to the dog, but he measured that, okay, the dog was hypersalivating, the dog was looking for food here and there. So the verdict was that our thoughts come from experiences. We may not remember our experiences, but the thoughts come from there. And where does mind come from? Mind comes from Mahatattva. Oh, you should read Srimad Bhagavatam 2nd canto, chapter number 4. Mahatattva is the raw material of the living entity, of the material creation. Like, for example, if a sculpture can carve a marble out into a very nice murti, right? Very nice sculpture. But where does the sculpture come from originally? From the crude marble, from the raw material. For that, it is explained that also in this chapter also it is explained a little bit that the material world, the creation, the raw material is Mahat Tattva. It's called Mahat Tattva, and Mahat Tattva is churned into motion by the glance of Mahavishnu. When he looks at it, there's motion, and then these things come out. First thing that comes out is mode of ignorance and intelligence. And mode of ignorance and intelligence combined together make mind, and then the further things come out. So you have to read second canto, fourth chapter, fifth chapter, and sixth chapter. This is very nicely explained. Your questions are valid. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Nirupama Mataji, Hare Krishna. I didn't know you joined. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I joined. I saw the video. Everything is fine according to our medical science. By why it is given that it is beaten by worms?
Yeah. So, yeah, Mataji, I'll let you finish the question.
Yes, that is only why in Om's inside our amniotic cavity it has shown that it is bitten by worms.
So there are worms. No place is sterile. There are worms, and actually, when a baby is born, don't they have a rash, erythema toxicum? You've seen that rash. I'm a pediatrician. I see it every day whenever I go to work. A newborn baby has a rash called erythema toxicum on the skin. We say this rash is benign. This rash will disappear by day 7 to 10 of life. And what do? We take a sample and look in the microscope. So what does this rash has? What is the cell made of?
Yes.
Eosinophils. So we know from our medical knowledge, eosinophils are the cells which are increased whenever there is allergic reaction. Where is this coming from? Or wherever there is worm infestation, right, Mataji?
Yes.
So you're a biochemist.
Biochemistry, yeah.
So you will know better than me, eosinophils, the allergic reaction or worm infestation. So now going back, we read Bhagavatam, third canto, 31st chapter, that there are worms in the amniotic fluid, which are biting and which cause this rash called erythema toxicum. And we say it is benign, but no, it is not benign. Nothing is sterile. There are worms because it's not a pure environment. If you leave a food out for days and months, you will see bacteria growing, so many things growing, right?
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Bhargavi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I have a doubt. Yesterday you told that we should chant in a particular place in Brahma Muhurta using that Tulasi beads. And you are also telling that we should practice daily of remembering Hari, so that before we die, we can remember him easily. During the time of death, we can remember him easily. Then you showed a video when not to chant Hare Krishna. That is while I saw a person while riding his bike, he is chanting, and you told it is a don't. So is remembering Hare Krishna other times is a sin, or means doing other activities? If I sweep my house and I think of Krishna, is it a sin? I shouldn't chant that. I have this doubt, Mataji.
Okay, there's a little bit of scatter. I'm gonna gather you. Okay, Bhargavi, you are a little scattered here, there, everywhere. So Krishna says that think of me always in the form of Krishna, person, right? And what was your first thing that I said we should? No, it's not a should, it's recommended. There's no hard and fast rules that you must chant only in Brahma Muhurta and rest of the day no more chanting. No, it's a recommendation. It's recommended because the attention is very focused in the morning times and the quality of chanting will be better. It's a recommendation that one chant. Don't take it as should. Okay, and the other thing is should chant on Tulsi beads. Actually, honestly, the Tulsi beads are given to a person who is initiated by a spiritual master and has given a vow of chanting 16 rounds. Tulsi is not given to anyone who's not given a commitment. But Prabhupada, we give it. So Tulsi is pure devotee of Krishna. So when we chant through a pure devotee of Krishna, Krishna becomes more pleased. So if you have neem beads, or there are people who actually have no beads and they made beads in the house from plastic balls. I know, from plastic, little girls, they make jewelry in the house with plastic
Yes, ma'am.
or pearls or something. They chant. More thing is, do I want to chant or not? So it's not a should. Tulsi is also not a should. It's recommended, but it is honestly reserved for initiated person who has a spiritual master. But whoever is chanting 16 rounds can chant, but recommendation, again, it's a recommendation and it's not an enforced thing. Okay, it's not should. And the third thing you said is when not to chant. Krishna is saying tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddhacha. So think of Krishna does not always mean that you have to have your beads. We are not so focused. We cannot multitask. Brahma has 4 heads. We have 1 head. So when we are driving, we can listen to a lecture, because people generally listen to music, right? When they're driving.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes or no?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
why wasting time in listening to some mundane music, sound vibration? We're again catching a sound vibration, and it's going to make our consciousness mundane or Krishna conscious. So listen to Prabhupada lectures, listen to Krishna, Hare Krishna Kirtan. This is so relishing. And what was the other thing you said? I'm forgetting the last part. Was it all?
Yeah, while sweeping or while doing daily activities, if I get to remember Krishna, and if I say Hare Krishna, is that a sin? Means,
It's the perfection of life. You're talking about sin. It's the perfection of life. My personal journey is, there are 3 phases of sleep, right? That awake, sleep, and deep sleep. Okay, awake.
Ma'am, not sleep, Mataji. It is sweeping house, cleaning dishes, like those things.
House. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You must remember Krishna, chant Krishna. When so many Matajis, when I'm working in my house, I have Prabhupada lecture playing. Sometimes 4 hours, 5 hours, I'm cleaning, cooking, laundry, so many things. And Prabhupada's lecture keeps playing one after another. And it's so nice. I don't feel tired at the end then. Yes. Please do it. Yes.
Mataji, one more. You did not tell that complete story of the pool. Pandavas died, and 4 Pandavas died, and they that pool asked some questions, 3 questions to. Today you have to.
Yeah, so I said no, Ani. So one of the questions was that what is the most wonderful thing that you see, Yudhishthira Maharaj? So he answered, the most wonderful thing I see is that every living entity, moment to moment, thousands of living entities are dying. But whoever is not dying at that moment thinks that I will never die. So that's the most wonderful thing.
Okay.
That's relevant to that particular shloka, right?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Shamala Srinivas Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Actually, I've been attending this Understanding Bhagavad Gita in 18 days for the second time in a row now. Initially, the first time I was not very keen on chanting. The second time, yeah, I started to chant. Now, my question is, when I start to chant, at times I feel my mind getting wandering out here and there, and I start yawning, and then I surely do get back. But yeah, I do lose count of 20, 30 chants. I use a counter. Sometimes I use a Tulsi Mala, which I got from Vrindavan. So now, is that a normal thing? Does it happen to everybody who start chanting, or am I finding it something very different, that I'm yawning, or my thoughts are not actually being really focused for a very long time?
So, well, it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon. We hear that a lot. Mataji, when you're chanting, you're not able to keep the count. Why? Because see, we have counted, like my beads. See, they are 16 beads. So every time I chant around, I pull up. I don't have to keep thinking how many. And this another 4 extra, because one bead represents 16 rounds. So I am under 16 rounds. So if I want to do more than 16, then I pull up. See, we have counters in our beads. My bead bag has a counter. All beads have counters. Bead bags. We should get all like this, or make it. So 16 beads, one bead representing each round. And the 4 other, because Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada said 64 rounds. So if you can do, so 1 round, 1 bead of this is equal to 16 beads of this. So you must have something like this, or all of you, whoever is chanting or wants to chant, it should not be, you should not be multitasking. We should not be like should word I'm using, thinking that how many rounds I chanted, how many, no. We just chant 108 beads, 1 round, 2 round, keep like that. Yawning and all will happen if we are tired. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur Prabhupada gives antidotes to the tiredness. It's very intricately discussed, Mataji, in Hari Bhakti Vilas, in her Chintamani, Hari Chintamani. Bhakti Vinod Thakur Prabhupada is one of the acharyas in our sampradaya. He says we consciously have to make effort to make a place in our house where we can chant consciously. We cannot be chanting in a place where I can see so many things that need to be done. Oh, I can see these clothes need to be ironed, this sabji needs to be cut, or the whatever plants need to be watered, or table is dirty. No, then you'll be distracted here and there. Consciously make an effort. Consciously make an effort to chant when I'm not tired. Because if I am tired, I will not be able to focus. Consciously make an effort to make a place in the house which is sanctified, which is pure, where we can sit. And it is better to chant with the devotees. If we chant alone, then we zoom out. Then when we zoom out and we look at the devotees around, oh, they're chanting, then I'll chant too. So I play Prabhupada's Hare Krishna Japa when I'm chanting. Actually, it's playing all the time in my house, 24/7. There's something called chanting box that is also available in Vrindavan. You just plug it in your house and Prabhupada's soft chanting goes on. So you catch that vibration. So like that, we have to make conscious effort. And by the way, our temple, Radha Govinda temple, 5 a.m. India time every day, you all can join congregational chanting, japa, meditation with the devotees every morning. You can join us for that. Okay. Okay, Mataji, so it's not uncommon, but we have to pass that stage. We cannot be living in and tired. But thank you for chanting and thank you for coming back. So, Kalavati Mataji, Sita Mataji, Roshan.
Yeah, we came back, Mataji.
Yeah, I saw. Sorry. Any
Can I
questions?
no, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji. Hare
Can
Krishna.
I leave the meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, no other questions today? Okay,
I hope we are allowed to come back for the 3rd time also. I mean, there's no restriction on number of time to come for this class.
No, there is no. No.